Welcome to The Deep Dive, the show where we really dig into the details, pulling insights from all sorts of sources to make sense of complex topics.
We aim to give you a clear, compelling conversation about things that matter.
And today we're plunging into a case that, well, it gripped the entire nation, didn't it?
Absolutely. A story marked by just chilling clues, so many unexpected twists, and a really long, winding path towards, well, what many hoped would be justice.
We're talking about the Delphi murders.
It's a case that has truly captivated the public. I mean, filled with details that are as haunting as they are intricate. We're discussing the tragic 2017 murders of Abby Williams and Libby German in Delphi, Indiana.
Right. And while we've recently seen the conviction of Richard Allen, which we'll definitely unpack today, this case is just layered with immense complexity.
Oh, yeah. Significant controversy, too, and frankly, quite a few lingering questions that still hang in the air.
Definitely. For this deep dive, we've pulled together a really comprehensive set of sources. We're looking at newly unsealed court documents.
And some of those details are shocking, really changed how people understood key moments.
Exactly. We've also got exclusive interviews with family members, people really close to the investigation, rigorous legal analysis from experts.
And insights from a new documentary on the case as well. It gives a pretty wide view.
Our mission today for you is to untangle these intricate details.
Yeah.
We want to provide a clear understanding of the timeline, who the key players were, the evidence presented.
And also the many perspectives, right? Because those perspectives have shaped and sometimes really confused the narrative of what truly happened.
We want you to feel well-informed by the end of this, but not, overwhelmed by the sheer volume and the emotional weight of it all.
Right.
Because it is heavy.
It is. So let's begin at the very beginning. The horrific discovery and those early clues that really set this long and, frankly, arduous investigation in motion.
At its heart, this is the story of two young girls. So vibrant. Their lives just tragically cut short.
Abby Williams, she was 13, and Libby German was 14. And by all accounts, they were absolutely inseparable best friends.
Abby, she was known for being spunky, right? That infectious laugh. Loved playing the saxophone, volleyball.
Yeah, described as really outgoing, full of life, a natural leader among her friends,
And Libby, equally remarkable, so cheerful, incredibly active, a really dedicated student too, taking advanced placement courses.
Mm-hmm. And she had that heartfelt dream of becoming a veterinarian, loved animals.
She also loved sports, had a creative side, enjoyed painting. They were, as one friend put it so well, just salt-of-the-earth kids.
Growing up in that small, close-knit American town, Delphi, Indiana, where life felt safe, predictable, the kind of place people rarely lock their doors.
Which makes what happened even more jarring.
Exactly. The fateful day was Monday, February 13th, 2017. It was a day off from school, just meant for simple, carefree enjoyment.
For Abby and Libby, it was supposed to be just a pleasant walk, serene even, on the Moon and High Bridge trails there in Delphi.
A really common activity for kids in that community, a familiar place, seemed totally safe.
Libby's older sister dropped them off, planning for their dad to pick them up later, around 3 p.m.
But as the afternoon wore on, they never showed up at the meeting spot.
And the alarm bells started ringing around 5:30 that evening, when they couldn't be reached.
Yeah, and what followed was just a frantic, desperate search that night. The whole community mobilized.
Hundreds of people, neighbors, friends, even strangers joined in, scouring those trails, the surrounding areas.
Libby's grandmother, Becky Patty, she later described seeing flashlights everywhere, like stars in the sky, she said, or fireflies dotting the dark landscape.
A full town effort, searching ravines, ditches, trash cans, just desperate hope for any sign.
And the initial thought, maybe a heartbreaking one, was maybe they'd accidentally fallen off that towering bridge or gotten injured in the terrain somehow.
But the grim reality hit the very next day, Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Their bodies were discovered in nearby woods, about a mile east of town. A devastating confirmation of the community's worst fears. Foul play was involved. Undeniably.
And the news station started descending on Delphi then, right?
Oh, yeah. Transformed it from a local missing persons case into this huge international story, highlighting the brutal nature of the crime.
For a town like Delphi, where, like you said, everyone knew everyone else, the devastation must have been profound.
Unimaginable, a crime of that magnitude, that brutality. It just shattered the town's sense of peace, of security.
Okay, so here's where the case takes a turn that's just crucial.
Yeah.
Absolutely vital to understanding everything that followed.
You're talking about Libby's phone.
Libby German's incredible presence of mind. In her final moments, under, unimaginable duress, she managed to capture evidence.
A grainy image of a man on the bridge, the man who became known instantly as Bridge Guy.
And, incredibly, an audio clip, too, on her cell phone.
And for years, those pieces of victim-captured evidence became the primary clues. For a long time, almost the only real clues investigators had.
It's almost unheard of in a case like this. Just a testament to her bravery.
And when you listen to that chilling audio snippet, the man's voice, kind of gravelly distinct, telling the girls, down the hill.
Sends shivers down your spine every single time.
But the horror deepens with those newly unsealed court documents we mentioned.
Right, what do they confirm?
They confirmed that one of the girls, we don't know which one, was heard uttering the word gun before being ordered down the hill.
Oh, wow. That provides crucial, just heartbreaking context.
Exactly. It explains why they didn't flee, why they complied with his command. It wasn't just an instruction. It was a threat backed by, the terrifying implication of lethal force.
Not the uniqueness of this victim-captured evidence just can't be overstated.
No, it really can't. Getting such direct, unadulterated evidence from the victims themselves, incredibly rare, almost never happens.
It was Livy's quick thinking, her sheer bravery, that left behind these direct pieces of evidence, the only real links into their final terrifying moments.
And for nearly 6 years, that grainy video and that chilling audio were the only clues the public, and honestly, to a large extent, the investigators had in these unsolved murders.
It really shows us how profoundly critical even the smallest piece of evidence can be, especially one captured by a victim in such high stakes.
The immediate reaction in Delphi was, well, understandably, profound shock. Devastation, a pervasive sense of violation.
This small, tight-knit community where generations lived side by side, such a brutal crime was just beyond comprehension.
Suddenly, that illusion of safety, the belief that nothing like that could ever happen here, it was just shattered, gone.
A once safe, quiet town was gripped by this intense, unfamiliar fear. Paranoia, even.
And what we learned from this initial phase, particularly looking at law enforcement's approach, is kind of a classic case study in managing information during a crisis.
Right. Initially, the police strategy was to release very limited information.
Very limited. They primarily focused on that bridge guy image and the audio clip. They issued an early composite sketch.
And urgently asked for public tips. Anyone see anything?
Right. But while that approach might have been intended to protect the investigation's integrity, maybe prevent panic, what it inadvertently created was this huge information vacuum.
And that vacuum, as we often see in these really high-profile public cases, it becomes fertile ground for something much more damaging than just unanswered questions.
Totally. It fueled wild speculation, rumor mills, both within Delphi itself and across all these online communities that sprang up.
Suddenly, people are looking sideways at their neighbors, their friends, even their own family members, with this unsettling, gnawing suspicion.
The silent question everyone was asking and often saying out loud was, am I living right next door to the killer? It must have been absolutely corrosive to the town's fabric.
It really highlights a crucial insight, doesn't it? In the absence of official information, people fill the void.
They fill it with their own narratives, and those narratives, often driven by fear, by suspicion, sometimes leading down tragically wrong paths.
This information vacuum also led to some pretty significant controversies and disturbing leaked details that just complicated things further and deepened public distrust.
Yeah, perhaps most infamously those graphic details about the crime scene itself that leaked online through what became known as the Erskine texts.
These were text messages from David Erskine, Abby's uncle. Tragically, he was a rescue worker at the scene.
He was among the first responders, and the immense trauma he must have experienced. It led to these deeply regrettable, though maybe understandable in context, leaks.
The disturbing revelations from those texts, later confirmed by those unsealed court documents, were truly horrific. They just added layers of confusion and speculation.
We learned the girls were killed by a sharp object. Their throats were slit.
And then the details about how they were found.
Just bizarre and chilling. Libby was found nude, while Abby was inexplicably redressed in Libby's clothes. She was found wearing 2 bras, 2 shoes.
And the sticks placed on their bodies. Chillingly.
Initially, the immediate thought was maybe the sticks were just meant to cover the bodies. A crude attempt at concealment.
But their precise arrangement later sparked entirely different, much more unsettling theories about, well, ritualistic intent, which we'll get into.
These leaks also brought forth really serious allegations about a compromised crime scene, became a huge point of contention.
Claims emerged that volunteers, in their initial frantic search efforts, inadvertently walked all over the area before police could properly secure it.
Right. And it was further alleged by some sources that crucial evidence, DNA, fingerprints, maybe was lost or mishandled because the investigators, perhaps inexperienced, didn't have the proper training for such a complex scene.
I read that one former task force member was quoted saying, "We got the training after the murders."
Which is just a damning indictment of the initial response capabilities, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yep. And imagine the profound impact all of this had on the families.
Oh, they were trying desperately to keep these gruesome details private, shield themselves, their loved ones from more trauma, but the leaks made that impossible.
And this, in turn, heavily impacted public perception of law enforcement. People questioned why they weren't more transparent, why such sensitive info could escape a controlled investigation.
It really felt like a community tearing itself apart with suspicion and blame, even as they were collectively trying to seek justice for Abby and Libby.
It's a stark reminder, really, of that delicate balance between public information and investigative integrity.
Okay, let's shift gears now to the evolving hunt for the killer. This period was marked by various persons of interest and some really confusing shifts in the investigation's focus.
One of the earliest persons of interest was Ron Logan.
Right, the owner of the land where Abby and Libby's bodies were actually discovered.
Which immediately raised suspicion, didn't it? Especially as he was seen on local TV early on, giving interviews.
Even offering tours of the crime scene area to reporters, which seemed odd to many. His proximity naturally made him a focus point.
And the FBI's request for a search warrant on his property, that probable cause affidavit, it laid out some serious allegations.
Very serious. It alleged he constructed a false alibi for a crime that hadn't even been discovered yet, claimed he was driving to buy tropical fish.
Despite having a suspended driver's license.
Correct. It also claimed he lied to investigators, and that cell tower pings allegedly placed his phone near the scene around the critical time.
And there were reports about his history.
Yeah, adding to this, 2 women who had prior relationships with him reported he had a history of violence towards women. One even stated she believed he was capable of doing something like that.
Logan was eventually imprisoned, but not for the murders.
No, it was for parole violations tied to a prior drunk driving conviction. He got a 4-year sentence.
And he was still in prison when he died in 2020.
Right. His death meant that any direct answers he might have held, anything he might have seen or known, well, it went with him.
Leaving a significant void, unanswered questions. No definitive closure on that particular lead.
So as leads around Ron Logan became more complex, or maybe just inconclusive, the hunt then turned to this perplexing, deeply unsettling online figure, Anthony Schatz.
Yes, the online predator angle.
Exactly. This was an internet profile using stolen pictures of a male model to solicit nude images from juvenile girls.
And chillingly, he was found to be in social media contact with Libby German just before her death.
A deeply disturbing discovery for her family, for investigators. It introduced this new, insidious layer to the case.
And this profile eventually led investigators to Keegan Kline from Peru, Indiana. How did they make that connection?
Well, the digital forensics on Libby's phone were exhaustive, a deep dive into her online footprint, and they eventually traced that Anthony Schatz persona back to Keegan Kline.
He was arrested in 2021, but not directly for the murders at that point.
Not for the murders, no. On child exploitation charges, a separate but obviously heinous crime. He later got a very substantial sentence for those charges, 43 years.
And from jail, he was interviewed about Delphi.
Repeatedly. And he consistently denied any involvement. Claimed he'd cooperated fully, gave his DNA, answered all questions.
But despite his denials, the online community, starved for answers, really latched onto him, didn't they?
Oh, absolutely. This is where you saw the rise of those citizen sleuths trying to catfish the catfisher.
Creating fake online profiles to try and bait Kline into revealing something about the murders.
Yeah, a desperate, unconventional, sometimes ethically questionable tactic. But it just vividly illustrated that intense public hunger for any piece of the puzzle.
It speaks volumes about the level of frustration, doesn't it? That people felt they had to take such extreme measures themselves.
Totally. Because the official investigations seem to be moving so slowly, or maybe hitting walls. It's a recurring theme in these high-profile cold cases.
The public wants answers. And when official channels are tight-lipped, or leads seem to fizzle,
people take matters into their own hands. The Klein connection, while it didn't lead to murder charges for him, was a significant detour. Consumed public attention, investigative resources. Further highlighted how convoluted and emotionally charged this case was.
And the public's frustration was just compounded by that truly bewildering change in the composite sketches.
Oh, the sketches, that was a major point of confusion.
For years, the original Bridge Guy sketch, that older man, 40s or 50s, was the face of the investigation.
Right. Then, boom, in 2019, police release a second, vastly different sketch. This one portraying him as much younger, possibly 16 to 30s.
The public reaction was not good.
Immediate and overwhelmingly negative, just profound confusion, widespread frustration, a deep sense of hopelessness almost.
People openly wondered, did the police have any clue who did it, leading to those nicknames?
Old Bridge Guy and Young Bridge Guy, because both sketches simply couldn't be right.
Which, for many, just deeply eroded their trust in law enforcement, made them question the whole direction of the investigation.
And this inconsistency, coupled with that information vacuum we talked about, it had a devastating broader community impact.
Fueled more paranoia in Delphi, turned social media into like a virtual battlefield.
Where citizens became vigilantes, leading to widespread witch hunts, accusations against innocent people, the hatred, the suspicion. It was palpable, tearing at the town's fabric.
It's a powerful reminder. When official info is scarce or contradictory, speculation runs rampant, and innocent people can get caught in the crossfire.
So that brings us to the almost 6-year period between the murders in February 2017 and Richard Allen's arrest in October 2022, an agonizing time for everyone involved.
The victims' families just continuously pleading for answers, their frustration growing every year.
And despite the lack of visible public progress, law enforcement kept saying the case was not cold, using phrases like, "We're still actively working it."
Which probably offered little comfort given the apparent stagnation.
Not much. Reward money grew significantly into 6 figures, yet the information vacuum, the conflicting sketches, just fueled more wild theories.
Everything from drug cartels to cult activity was being speculated about online and in the community.
It created this climate of pervasive fear where that chilling thought, evil lives amongst us, really took root deep in the community's psyche.
It truly felt like an endless, torturous wait for any tangible breakthrough, a profound sense of helplessness for those families.
Then, October 2022, the truly unexpected arrest of Richard Allen.
A 50-year-old local CVS worker. No prior criminal history. Lived right there in Delphi.
The community was absolutely stunned. People described him as friendly, kind, unremarkable.
The overwhelming reaction was just disbelief, wasn't it? Where did this guy come from?
Exactly. How could someone so integral to the community, this seemingly ordinary, benign presence, possibly be accused of something so horrific?
Even Libby's aunt recalled him helping her print pictures for Libby's memorial. Described him as helpful and kind back then. Made the shock even greater.
And what's crucial here, and just incredibly frustrating in hindsight,
is that Allen actually had prior contact with the police shortly after the murders.
Right. In 2017, he self-reported being on the trail the day of the murders, claimed he was there just watching fish.
But his statement was, what, misfiled?
Inexplicably misfiled by an Indiana conservation officer. And as Sheriff Liggett later testified, it tragically fell in the cracks for years.
So this critical piece of information, linking him directly to the scene on that day,
was only rediscovered in September 2022, just weeks before his arrest, leading to a renewed, intense focus on him.
When they re-interviewed him after finding that statement,
Allen again admitted he was on the bridge from 1:40 to 3:30 p.m., wearing a Carhartt jacket, blue jeans.
Which chillingly matched the general description of Bridge Guy.
Right. He stuck to his story, though, maintained he was merely there to observe fish.
But the prosecution would argue, and the evidence seemed to suggest, something far more damning.
Definitely. The prosecution built a very compelling case around several key pieces of evidence. The most damaging piece of evidence, as legal analysts called it,
was that unspent .40 caliber round.
Found strategically placed between the girls' bodies at the crime scene.
And ballistic experts meticulously determined that this specific bullet had cycled through Allen's gun.
His Sig Sauer model P226 handgun, yes, which was found during a search of his home, directly linking him forensically to that precise location and a potential weapon.
That forensic link was incredibly significant, a tangible connection.
Huge. And then you have the alleged confessions.
Right. Prosecutors highlighted what they called a mountain of other forensic evidence, but the confessions were particularly impactful.
And these weren't just one-off things. Richard Allen allegedly made multiple confessions while incarcerated, reportedly up to 60 times.
To various people.
His wife, mother.
His wife Kathy, his mother, his psychologist, even corrections officers.
And the context is important. These weren't police interrogations.
No, these were statements allegedly made in moments of vulnerability, maybe despair, to his closest supporters, often during recorded phone calls from jail, or in conversations with mental health professionals. Specific statements were quoted, weren't they? Like that unsettling phone call to his wife, Kathy.
Yeah, where he allegedly said, "I do it. I killed Abby and Libby." To which she, in disbelief, apparently responded, "No, you didn't." And he allegedly affirmed, "Yes, I did."
Wow. And the psychologist's testimony.
The psychologist testified Allen confessed to ordering the girls down the hill, and that he intended to rape them, but was startled by something, possibly a passing van, maybe another person, which altered his original plan.
During the search of Allen's home, investigators also recovered other items.
Right. Numerous items that, while not direct proof of guilt on their own, certainly added to the circumstantial picture.
Several guns, a collection of 13 knives,
Boots that could have been worn on the trail, a Carhartt coat, and jeans similar to the bridge guy description. Even a swatch from his car for testing.
and the knives are relevant because the cause of death was a sharp object.
Exactly. While you can't assume a specific knife was used, finding 13 knives is certainly probative in that context.
However, the defense pushed back hard, presented significant counter-arguments, allegations.
Primarily focusing on Allen's rapidly deteriorating mental state while he was in jail,
They argued his mental health declined sharply during those 13 months in solitary confinement.
leading to what they described as a psychotic state during the time he made those alleged confessions.
They cited a list of really bizarre behaviors, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. Wetting and eating his legal paperwork, refusing to sleep for long periods, intentionally breaking his jail tablet, making deeply disturbing suicidal statements.
His defense attorneys even compared his treatment to a prisoner of war.
They did, arguing his confinement conditions were unconstitutional, severely compromised his mental faculties, and therefore rendered any confessions unreliable.
Basically saying you couldn't take them seriously given his fragile mental state.
But prosecutors pushed back forcefully on that. They noted that 2 independent psychiatrists evaluated Allen after the confessions.
And determined he didn't need to be moved from solitary.
Correct, and that his behavior apparently went back to normal after these evaluations, suggesting the defense's claims were maybe exaggerated or a tactic.
The defense also hammered on a perceived lack of direct forensic evidence.
Right. They asserted that beyond that single unspent bullet, there was no electronic evidence linking Allen to the crime scene or the girls,
Stressed that no DNA or fingerprints of his were found at the scene.
making the state's case, in their view, largely circumstantial, reliant on contested confessions and that one bullet.
They also questioned the reliability of those inconsistent witness accounts that led to the different sketches.
Yeah, they pointed out, for example, that a witness description for the second younger sketch was a young man, possibly in his 20s, clean-shaven.
While Allen was 50 at the time and had a goatee.
Right. They also noted none of the witnesses described the suspect as being particularly short, which you might expect if it were Allen, who's 5'4".
This discrepancy, the defense argued, just added to reasonable doubt about whether Allen was actually the bridge guy.
And now, we get to what many consider the most controversial, most dramatic twist in this already incredibly complex case.
The Odinism theory.
The defense attorneys for Richard Allen made these bombshell claims in court filings, asserting the murders weren't just random violence,
But a ritualistic killing
yeah,
carried out by a religious sect or cult following Odinism.
This revelation just generated immediate, widespread discussion across true crime communities, media, everywhere.
And for the defense, it certainly created, as you said, fantastic PR.
It forced everyone to consider this deeply unsettling, profoundly disturbing new angle. So what exactly is Odinism?
At its core, it's an ancient, heathen, or pagan, pre-Christian Nordic religion, centered around Norse gods like Odin and Thor, draws on Germanic paganism.
But it's critically important to distinguish here.
Yes, absolutely. The vast majority of modern Norse pagans, Odinists, are peaceful, law-abiding people. Not racist, not violent.
However, there is a problematic extremist branch of Odinism that is, unfortunately, heavily tied to white supremacy, domestic terrorism, and violence.
A chilling example often cited is Anders Breivik, who carried out that horrific mass shooting in Norway.
And sickeningly nicknamed his weapons after Odin's spear and Thor's hammer. Just awful.
Historically, some ancient Odinist practices did involve human and animal sacrifices. Specific methods like hanging, blood draining.
Which the defense, starkly and very controversially, tried to link directly to the Delphi crime scene details.
In modern rituals practiced by this extremist branch, members are said to go into remote woods, often near water.
To practice their rites. Maybe drink mead from horns, read ancient poetry, and disturbingly, commit sacrifices.
Usually animals. But there have been documented instances where members of such extremist groups committed human sacrifices.
Which further ties into the defense's claims, adding a profoundly dark layer to this whole discussion. The defense sought to link these practices directly to the crime scene.
This brings us to that ritualistic murder interpretation of the crime scene itself, viewed through this new, disturbing lens presented by the defense.
We mentioned the chilling details. Libby found nude, Abby redressed in Libby's clothes, wearing 2 bras, 2 shoes, the yellow rope reportedly found nearby.
The defense argued these weren't random, they were symbolic.
And the sticks found on the bodies, initially thought to be just concealment.
The defense argued they were placed with intent and purpose to send some sort of a message, not just to cover them. Witnesses described them arranged in straight lines, sharp angles.
Which led to that stunning, highly controversial interpretation involving tarot cards.
Right. Libby, with arms outstretched, seen as an eerie representation of the magician.
And Abby, with crossed legs, sticks around her head resembling horns or a crown, interpreted as the hanged man, a card strongly associated with Odin in some occult interpretations.
Even the blood patterns, or the alleged lack of significant blood, became critical to this theory.
Despite the manner of death, throat slit, there was reportedly barely any blood at the crime scene, blood primarily just on Libby's hands.
The defense implied the bodies appeared drained of blood. A detail that, if true, is chillingly similar to historical Odinist sacrificial practices involving blood offerings.
Presented as a signature element of a ritual act.
And then there's that incredibly disturbing detail. The alleged blood rune painted on a tree near the bodies.
Some interpreted this as a Norse rune symbolizing Odin, suggesting a clear calling card, a deliberate sign left by the killer or killers.
If confirmed, that rune would have been one of the most direct pieces of evidence supporting the Odinism theory.
An expert in ritual murder, Dawn Perlmutter, was quoted in the source material. Based on the descriptions, she stated the Delphi murders had every benchmark of a ritualistic murder.
Citing the outdoor location, near water, use of sharp objects instead of a gun, despite one apparently being present.
The particular blood patterns, or lack thereof, and the specific body positioning that goes beyond the actions necessary to conduct the crime or elude the police.
In her professional opinion, these were all indicators of a symbolic act, not just a murder.
The defense went even further, made serious allegations of a law enforcement cover-up, or at least mishandling regarding this theory.
Arguing that law enforcement never fully explored the Odinism angle, and even destroyed evidence.
Specifically, initial interviews with potential suspects, named as Brad and Patrick, who allegedly had ties to Odinism. Search warrants for their phones had explicitly mentioned seeking religious evidence,
Suggesting investigators were initially aware of this angle, but maybe dropped it or didn't pursue it fully.
and perhaps most alarming, definitely the most sensational claim,
Was that several of the prison guards in charge of Richard Allen were wearing Odinism patches on their uniform.
with one, Sport Jones, reportedly wearing patches saying, "In Odin we trust," and having an Odin spear tattoo under his eye.
A direct allegation of bias, maybe even complicity, within the very system holding Allen.
The judge, recognizing the serious implications, immediately ordered those symbols to stop being displayed in relation to Allen.
The defense also pointed out that those uncollected sticks from the crime scene, some reportedly having electric saw marks,
Could have contained crucial forensic evidence related to this theory, but were never properly seized or analyzed. Potential evidence lost.
And adding weight to this, former Carroll County prosecutor Robert Ives stated publicly the crime scene was odd, had at least 3 signatures.
Suggesting not only the possibility of multiple killers, but also a clear ritualistic element or signature beyond what was necessary to commit the murders themselves. That statement from a former prosecutor added significant weight to the defense's claims.
However, the prosecution's stance was quite different.
Largely viewed the Odinism theory as a common legal maneuver, a defense tactic to introduce reasonable doubt.
Suggested it was intended to create doubt about whether Richard Allen was involved, or simply confuse the jury, especially while under that gag order restricting public comment from the prosecution.
Organizations like the Anti-Defamation League's Center on Extremism track the allegations closely.
But stated they found no substantiated evidence directly linking the murders to this specific extremist ideology. They emphasized that while such groups exist, direct evidence tying them to this particular crime was lacking.
Okay, let's turn now to the long-awaited trial. The verdict, the sentencing, all while acknowledging those many questions that still linger.
The trial itself, fall of 2024, high profile, obviously, drew national attention, intense scrutiny.
And Libby's mother, Carrie Timmons, made that heartbreaking decision to attend every day, saying, "I did that for her. It was the least I could do." Just shows the immense dedication of these families.
In November 2024, after intense deliberation, the jury delivered its verdict.
Richard Allen found guilty on all charges. Felony murder for killing while attempting kidnapping for both Abby and Libby.
And murder for knowingly killing both girls. Just to clarify, felony murder means someone died during another serious crime, like kidnapping here. Murder means he knowingly killed them.
The emotional reactions in the courtroom were profound, immediate. Kathy Allen, Richard Allen's wife, was seen openly sobbing.
While Richard Allen himself appeared stoic, almost confused as the verdict was read.
And the families of Abby and Libby, after nearly 8 agonizing years of waiting, they embraced. A moment of profound, albeit incomplete, relief.
The sentencing took place December 20th, 2024.
Allen received a staggering 130 years in prison. That's consecutive 65-year sentences for each murder, meaning one term served after the other.
A maximum penalty reflecting the gravity of the crime.
Allen showed no discernible reaction. Notably, none of his relatives were present in court.
Judge Fran Gold delivered some stern, unsparing words.
Called it one of the most heinous crimes in the state of Indiana, with an extraordinary impact on family, including the generational impact. She even noted, "You sit here and roll your eyes at me like you rolled your eyes at me through this trial," highlighting his apparent lack of remorse.
After the gag order, which had silenced them for so long, was finally lifted, the victims' families could speak out. Their statements were just powerful, raw, heartbreaking.
Libby's grandmother, Becky Patty, expressed profound gratitude for the jurors, prosecutors, community support, stating with such a heavy heart, "I hope he lives with the same fear he caused Abby and Libby in the last hour of their lives."
Wow. Her words really encapsulate that enduring pain, the desire for him to grasp the terror he inflicted.
Libby's mother, Carrie Timmons, spoke movingly of the path of destruction Allen created, detailed her own personal battle with PTSD, depression, guilt, anxiety.
Shared how the family heartbreakingly stopped celebrating Libby's birthday because it was just too painful.
She urged Allen directly, with unwavering resolve. "You could have taken accountability. You need to stand up and not appeal," pushing him towards accepting responsibility.
Abby's grandmother, Diane Erskine, shared that haunting detail of Abby's last words from Libby's phone. "Don't leave me up here."
The raw terror in that moment, knowing what was happening, just unbearable. Diane wondered aloud, how many great-grandkids were murdered that day, highlighting the profound, lasting loss, the stolen future.
And Abby's mother, Anna Williams, articulated something many victims' families feel. Even a guilty verdict, a sentence, it doesn't bring her back. The girls are still gone.
Powerfully emphasizing the lack of full closure, a feeling that often lingers despite legal outcomes.
Law enforcement also reflected on the outcome, acknowledged the long road.
Prosecutor Nicholas McClellan, in particular, praised Abby and Libby themselves, credited Libby's wherewithal to pull out her phone to know that something wasn't right.
And Abby for hiding the phone, crucial in catching the killer.
He called Libby's recording, arguably the biggest piece of evidence that we had, emphasizing the profound impact of her bravery.
Carroll County Sheriff Tony Liggett offered a heartfelt apology to the families for that agonizing 8-year delay.
Acknowledging that while a form of justice was served, it does not bring Abby or Libby back. He stressed these families will live every day without them, missing countless milestones.
And law enforcement continues to plead with the public, right, about those leaked crime scene photos.
Yeah, urging people to delete them if they have them, to avoid re-victimizing the families, inflicting further trauma, a constant struggle.
Despite the verdict, the sentence, Richard Allen's wife, Kathy Allen, maintains his innocence.
Continues to insist her husband is not a monster, was wrongly convicted, expressed unwavering belief in his innocence in that new documentary.
Called him a wonderful, caring, compassionate father, and believes reasonable doubt was written all over the place in the trial. Hopes for an appeal.
Underscores the deep division that can persist even after a legal resolution.
And finally, that crucial, persistent question that still lingers, the one suggesting this deep dive isn't fully concluded for anyone.
The question of other actors.
Both prosecutor Nick McClellan and former Sheriff Tobe Lesby have publicly stated, even after Allen's conviction,
There are likely other people involved in this crime.
this lingering uncertainty, it means that even with Allen convicted and sentenced, the community, and you listening, may not have the complete picture.
Law enforcement continues to ask for tips regarding any other person that you may have information about, indicating the case, in some respects, is still considered open for further involvement.
It's a powerful, sobering reminder that justice, even when served, can sometimes leave an incomplete narrative. The full truth might still be elusive.
Which prompts continued vigilance, continued searching.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, we've journeyed through the harrowing layers of the Delphi murders. From the initial shock, that chilling victim captured evidence,
Through the bewildering twists of various suspects, the Odinism theory, all of that.
to Richard Allen's conviction and the complex emotional landscape that absolutely remains.
This case truly is unique. That blend of direct evidence from the victims, the intense public engagement, a legal process just fraught with unexpected turns and deeply disturbing allegations.
It's so vital to remember Abby and Libby, not just as victims, but as real girls, deeply loved with vibrant personalities, dreams, tragically cut short.
Their stories continue to resonate, and the profound impact on the Delphi community, their families. It highlights that while they may have received a form of justice, true closure
Remains an elusive concept, as Abby's mother so poignantly stated, a powerful lesson in the aftermath of such devastating crimes.
So, as you reflect on this deeply layered case where definitive answers were so hard-won and maybe still feel elusive, consider this.
While Richard Allen has been convicted, the questions surrounding potential other actors, or those nuanced motivations like the Odinism theory, even if unproven in court, they suggest the full narrative might still be incomplete.
In cases as profoundly impactful and complex as this one, where every piece of information feels critical, what responsibility do we as a community of informed citizens have?
To keep seeking the truth, perhaps, even when the immediate legal process has concluded.
Are there still pieces of the puzzle out there that need to be found, or other actors whose roles remain hidden in the shadows waiting for light to be shed upon them?
It's a question that keeps the deep dive, in a way, still ongoing.